I've never been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, but I knew it was bad. I was the angriest man alive. I wanted to fight the world, and that was my kind of motivation for starting the charity.
You've come from being a squaddie to now into civilian life. You're on your own.
What the military does is gives us a sense of belonging, and one day that stops. We're very open about mental health here. We talk about it all day. We've all got issues. Everybody in the world's got issues. How we deal with it is the most important thing. You can lie in bed in the morning and feel bad, or you can swing your legs out of bed and do something about it. And we're the do something about it.
There's been a bucket list to buy a vintage tractor. Always has been. And we've bought a little Fergie. And the best part of it, it's in grey. We might do it up, we might keep it original, not sure, but I haven't even seen it yet, so I've got a big cast eyes on it to see what it's all about, but very excited to go down there and see it in person. Hopefully it starts. Whoa! Billy is an absolute legend of a bloke, and he heads up a charity called VIA, Veterans in Action. Incredible charity, and something that we just stumbled across through buying this tractor, and really wanted to expose it to our audience of what wonderful things that he does for these people, for our veterans. But Billy in himself, such a humble guy, devotes all his life to helping others. But when we get down there, we will chat with him and see exactly what they're all about and how they help others. See you scrubbed up?
Always scrubbed up, mate.
Good to see you. How are you, Chief? Good to see you. Everything all good? Oh, look at her. Wow.
It's good, isn't it?
What a beauty.
We were donated this by a guy over in Kent, and we took it because but we didn't know what we were going to do with it.
Yeah.
So it's better I've got it somebody that wants it,
Have you done any work to it?
No, we've not done a single thing to it. It's good, isn't it?
So if we chuck a battery on there, see what happens?
Yeah, that's it, mate.
So this hasn't been started for how long?
6 months, maybe 7 months.
Start.
Oh. Starter spin, isn't it?
Give it a rock.
Start and what's stuck, you think?
Doesn't seem to be engaging, does it?
No, it doesn't sound off.
No.
You're doing well. Come on.
Should have put somebody else on it.
Come on. There we go. I'm only 20 stone.
Oh, George, that's no fair, mate.
They told me to do it. It's not my fault. Fuck me. Oh, that'll do. That'll do.
It's an incredible thing that you're doing, I think.
I appreciate that.
Really incredible thing that you're doing to help.
We don't really notice that though, because we do it every day.
So I really wanted to, from our side,
Yeah.
I wanted to expose you to our audience,
Yeah.
and just really wanted you to tell our audience exactly what VIA is all about.
Yeah. So most of the veterans we work with have got either a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress or other mental health issues. And what we do is we work to a thing called post-traumatic growth, which is a study in the United States, and it's used by an organisation in the States called Border Crest Retreat. And the studies was done by Dr. Richard Tedeschi. We looked at the studies and how we could adapt it into what we do. Now, the first things we did is we took veterans on long distance walking, and we walked about 13,500 miles across the UK. We formed the Union flag across the UK.
Incredible.
And what we did is we got veterans to work, 2 veterans walking together. And when you walk together with one other person, you communicate. So the next day they'd walk with somebody else. Again, the same stories being told by different perspectives, different people. And before long, what they did is they could talk openly about mental health because everybody knew their story.
Yeah.
So it kind of opened that up. In 2017, we got some grants from the National Lottery, the Masonic Charitable Foundation, and a few others, and that allowed us to buy some vehicles in. And I was always about the expedition until we got in the workshop, and the workshop was a real therapy. If you want to call it therapy, a therapeutic as opposed to therapy. where people were working together, learning skills or relearning skills, or coming in and be able to use their skills to teach others. And it was that community we kind of put together building the vehicles that made the expedition side kind of go to the back. That was the nice bit at the end, but the real work was done in a workshop.
For most men, alphas,
Yep.
you've been through the services, you're trained to be a certain type.
Yeah.
You come out the services, you've come from being a squaddie to now into civilian life, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And is that the clinch point? Is that where you come in to say, well,
Yeah.
look, I've been through what I've been through.
Absolutely.
And now I just want to have a shoulder to lean on. I want an ear there to listen to what I've got to say.
We're very open about mental health here. We talk about it all day. We're typical soldiers where we kind of have a good bit of banter with each other. Especially if a Navy guy comes in or an Air Force, they get a hard time. But I can tell you they give it back too. And that's what it's all about. And it's that community that we build, something we recognise. So you coming in here today, get a brew on, mate. You know, like it's the first thing we ever do as squaddies, like, is to get a brew on. And it kind of, the language you use is really, really important. And how we communicate with them. If they come in here and we said, tell me all your problems, we wouldn't see them again. So it's about that, easing them into a situation where they feel comfortable and trust. And then what happens is they'll start to open up and say they've got these issues or these issues or these issues. So we then refer them to the professionals, the psychologists and the other charities that deal with that, knowing they can still be here all the time. We want to belong to something. What the military does is gives us a sense of belonging, and one day that stops. And we go into that service street, like you said, and we go, well, who am I? You know, like, we don't really know who we are or how we fit in, because we all suffer at different levels of any illness, and post-traumatic stress is no different. Some deal with it every day. It doesn't mean you don't need help. And sometimes we kind of need to come in and talk about that.
Yeah.
And if the more you can make that easier to talk about, when we don't put any barriers in the way of that, when we laugh about kind of post-traumatic stress or our own kind of suffering, then that opens the door for people to communicate.
Oh, and that's the most important part there, isn't it? Your own suffering. You've been through it yourself.
Yeah.
It's not someone from the outside coming in to say that's just inappropriate to be laughing about that situation.
Yeah.
You guys have physically been through this.
Most people here have suffered with something. I've never been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, but I knew it was bad. I was the angriest man alive. I wanted to fight the world, and that was my kind of motivation for starting the charity. I looked at other organisations. In fact, I went to see a psychologist, and after my first session, I went back and I said, I don't know what you did last time, but I feel great now, hallelujah. And she said, okay, I'll write you off then. And that was me. I walked out and I went, what do you do now? We've all got issues. Everybody in the world's got issues. How we deal with it is the most important thing. And I had a veteran in yesterday, and I said to him, the most important thing you can do is you can lie in bed in the morning and feel bad, and you'll still feel bad, or you can swing your legs out of bed and do something about it. And we're the do something about it. Yeah, so this is where I first meet individuals. You know, they'll come in here. When they first come, they'll come and have a chat with me. I'll maybe spend 1 or 2 hours with them. They'll come in here to start with, and very frightened usually, you know, like a rabbit in the headlights type thing. And we very quickly get that going. I talk to them like a squaddie, so I swear. I talk the language they know. You know, like, I just be myself.
You're not there to judge?
You know, like, absolutely not. And as long as they leave here that first time better than they come in, you've achieved something, and they've achieved something. The real telling thing is they come back the next time. And when they do that, they've taken the action to get themselves better. And that's what we want them to do. I tell them we won't chase you, because if we chase you, we're going to push you away. What we want them to do is take that informed decision themselves to say, I want to get better, and I want to come because I want to do something. And the more comfortable we can make them feel on that first day, sometimes I don't even take their name. I don't want to fill them with forms, fill this form and fill this form. That's what they get with other organisations. If we do the same, we're just the same as the other organisations. And I don't think we are. I think our methodology and our thinking is completely different from many organisations out there. Some of them frown at us because of that, because we challenge things. If you don't challenge things, how can you change things?
We don't always need to follow the status quo, do you?
No, and we challenge beliefs too. The veterans believe they can't achieve. Well, who told you that? Who told you can't achieve? Sometimes that's just negative self-talk that says, I can't do that because I'm suffering. Well, I would challenge that and say, you can do it as well as suffer. But I can tell you what, the more you do it, the less you'll suffer.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about getting that mindset to change from negative into positive.
But there's got to be a psychological change, isn't there? And something's got to click in order to do it. And that's when we first met. I mentioned in the car on the way down here, my brother serves in the Gulf, and I said that to you when I met you for the first time. Not knowing, being very naive, wet behind the ears, I don't know what that was all about. But what I can tell you is my first-hand experiences. And as my eldest brother, incredible bloke, he's an incredible guy, somebody you look up to. I just remember this vividly, some of the scenarios that we would be around, and it would just be this anger, this sheer anger that would come out on him, and it'd be like, why? What is it all about? You don't know what he's just been through. I will never know. But from himself, if there were people like you there from the get-go, I'm sure he would have got better, so much more quickly by having people like you to rely on, because he's got to make the steps, hasn't he? And he has. He is the most caring, loving gent you'll ever meet. But because of what he's been through, it had that burn, that passion, that horrible.
I recognise the anger, because that was me. I was angry at the world. So for me, that's come from a place I understand. But it was anger out of context. It was anger for the sake of being angry. And now I tell people it's okay to be angry, but it has to be in context. It has to be, I'm angry because somebody cut me up. I'm not angry because I get out of bed in the morning. There's no context to it.
One thing I would encourage, certainly our audience and the people that are watching this, to definitely reflect back on the video that you released, would it be about a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, about a year ago, because it really does. I mean, aside from what we're talking about today, gives another further in-depth, further afield overview on VIA. So I certainly would encourage all of our audience to watch that as well, for sure. Yeah. How are we doing? You well?
Yeah, I'm
Good.
well.
What was your name again, sorry?
Steve.
Steve, nice to meet you, Steve. This is going to be a fundamental part of the trip. Kitchen, obviously.
It's going to be one of the main vehicles.
Yeah.
To obviously feed the guys on the fleet of vehicles that we take out. And maybe a point of like socialising around it. We're going to have awnings and all that coming off of it as well.
And you painted it in a Raptor?
Yeah, so the Raptor paint is, we Raptor all the vehicles because it's good quality paint, and obviously it lasts a very long time.
It's really tough, really durable.
It's really durable, yeah.
And do you mind me asking, what brought you to VIA? How did you find VIA?
So basically I was suffering with nightmares. When I first come here, I didn't believe I had PTSD. I thought that it was just what I'd done was just the way it was. After the death of my son, I noticed that
sorry to hear that.
I was missing hours in the days. So I was like, right, I need to sort this out. So I went onto Facebook, and my plan was to get an off-road vehicle and start doing off-roading. So I put into Facebook if there's any veterans charities that work on vehicles like this, and VIA come up. So I sent them a message. Billy invited us up, and then I've been here ever since.
And how long have you been here?
Just over a year now, I believe. But it's the first day I come here. It's kind of like this was the piece of me that was missing. And working on the vehicles, I mean, I actually have a D2 as well now, but just working on the vehicles, it kind of gets you out of your head.
Gives you that purpose.
Yeah, it gives you that purpose, and plus when they roll out of the door, it's like you can sit back and think, I actually was part of that.
Yeah, nice amount of pride.
So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And you go out with the team, say part of Benny and I's discussion we'll be having in there, that say when you're in the forces you have that huge collaborative team.
Yeah,
so when you leave there, it's like, well, who is there? Who's around me?
Yeah. And plus obviously here it's there's guys from all walks of life, all different parts of the army. So like Navy, Navy guys I would never actually talk to as serving in the infantry. But here it opens your mind to listening to other people's stories and finding out what they've went through and stuff like that. But there's not, at no point are you like pressured to open up. if you want to talk, I mean, Billy, for instance, if I'm having a bad day, which he can kind of read me, if I come in and I'm having a bit of a bad day, he'd take us up to the office, but he won't directly ask. He'd just ask how I'm doing and stuff like that. And then I feel that I'm comfortable enough to open up to him. And it's just like releasing the weight off you. And then obviously I get down here and either put something on back to front or do something right, and then I'm pleased with myself.
And then you get ribbed for it.
Yeah.
Then the banter flows.
But that's another thing with here as well. There's no limit to the banter. It is like you are at home, because obviously we have a little banter, we have a little laugh at each other and that, and then crack on with the vehicles.
So if you were to have any message to give to it, so if there's somebody watching this video now,
Yep.
what would you say to them?
So I would say to contact any member of the team and just have a little chat if you're a bit nervous about coming down. But the main thing is just taking that step. You won't regret it. As soon as you step foot in this place, you'll realise that everyone's the same, and that the way we interact with each other is like veterans, like soldiers to veterans. It's
nice.
exactly the same. So it's like a home away from home sort of thing.
Fantastic. We heard it straight from the horse's mouth right there. If there is anything that you wanted to know about VIA, definitely pick up the phone, speak to anyone of their team, and they'll be there to help for sure. They're just incredible people across the board. Billy in himself, he does not give himself enough credit, and the charity doesn't give themselves enough recognition for what they do to help other people. That's fundamentally the problem there. They need to have that help and they need to have that support. We'll put a link to the VIA website, contact details. So if this has got to anybody that needs the help, then click on the link and that will direct you to who you need to contact.